Good Tuesday morning, April the 21st, I believe. And yesterday, we were talking about trusting God this week in the midst of all of our trials and the particular things that come our way. So we want to be faithful to trust Him no matter what. And we were looking at Joseph yesterday, who was trusting God, but was also using discernment as he appealed to Pharaoh's cupbearer and said, hey, make sure you mention my name. Don't forget to mention me while you're there. And so we have Joseph as an example of a man who's trusting God in the midst of the fact that things are not good for him. Joseph's life had a crook in it, didn't it? And many of you have read the book, I'm sure, by the old Puritan writer, A Crook in the Lot. And each of us right now have a particular crook in the lot. The crook in the lot for us right now is that maybe our income has been truncated or at least restricted in some way because of this virus. And so we've got to trust God in spite of what is going on. King Solomon wrote in the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon being the wisest man on earth, God said there wasn't anybody wiser before you, and there won't be anybody wiser after you, save the Lord Jesus Christ, our Messiah. But King Solomon was a wise man, and this is what he wrote under inspiration in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse number 13. He said, "Consider the work of God, for who can make that straight which he hath made crooked?" Who can do that? Who can straighten out something that God has bent, has made that way? Well, nobody. If God is intending for it to be crooked, it's going to be crooked. And he goes on to say, in the day of prosperity, be joyful, but in the day of adversity, consider. So when the Lord is giving us fantastic times and our economy is booming and we're able to assemble in our church services, God says, be joyful. In the day of prosperity, be joyful. But in the day of adversity, when that crook comes into your life, this is the time that you need to consider. You need to consider. Just over the past few weeks, I've dealt with a little bit of a back issue that's really given me some trouble, and it gave me time to consider. It gave me time to decide what I need to be faithful doing. I'm going to be faithful doing these particular things. I'm going to try to be faithful to the Lord. And so in a time of adversity, we need to consider. And this is what he goes on to say in verse 14. God also hath set one over against the other. What's that? The day of prosperity and the day of adversity. He's set one over against the other. Why? To the end that man should find nothing after him. There should be nothing that I would find to trust in but God alone. Only God. My wisdom is limited. My ability to understand all that is going on around me is extremely limited. So what am I going to do? I'm going to trust that God knows what is best for me in my situation. And I can trust Him even when I don't understand why He's doing everything He's doing. I may not fully understand it, but I am going to trust Him. And secondarily, in the midst of that, I can encourage other people to trust Him when they are going through emotional pains, physical pains, going through things that they don't fully understand. The whole idea of trusting God in adversity is merely that I can stand against the adversity because of what God has already done for me and promised me. And I sympathize with those that find it difficult to trust in God in adversity because I've been there myself so many times. But God is very, very plain. He has set the day of prosperity over against the day of adversity so that we would realize there is nothing after us. There's nothing we personally can do except to trust in God and do our duty. Be faithful. Like Joseph, he's in prison. What can he do? He's bound. I'll appeal to Pharaoh because God put him there. So let's be faithful in these aspects and in this day to trust the Lord.